Hello and welcome back to WD18, the Watford fan channel, and welcome to a new series on the channel called Speaking Up, a series where here on the channel we'll be looking to raise awareness for certain social issues and in particular mental health. Now it feels a bit weird me presenting a series on the channel, but really looking forward to this. Really looking forward to speaking to some fantastic people, fantastic guests coming up on the channel, speaking about some really important topics. And I thought first guest to have on the series, none other than Jacob Culshaw, who has given me the opportunity on the channel. And today, I don't know, a bit of an introduction episode, talk a bit about men's mental health and generally how you've been. So first off, it feels weird me asking the question. How are you, mate?
So it is really weird being on the other side of it. Even just like starting the video off today, it was weird me not saying hello, welcome back to WD18. Very good though, very good. You definitely be picking tips off someone else, not me. It hasn't been for me.
Some of you may know if you follow me on social media, you listen to some of the stuff that Jacob and I say on the channel. Two topics both of us are really passionate about: football and mental health. If you don't know about me, I suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder and anxiety, and I've been quite vocal about it, particularly since the lockdown. I feel like it's really important for, particularly as a male in today's society, to speak up about it, considering there is such a stigma about it. Now, neither me or Jacob are professionals, but we just want to use this series as a way of encouraging people to speak up. Hence, the name of the series is called Speaking Up. So, Jacob, what does someone at uni and someone living in today's society, what does mental health mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big question, isn't it? And everyone, I think the thing with mental health is every answer will be different, Sam. And your take on mental health will be different to mine, depending on your experiences, etc. And I think for me, mate, it's what I'm going to admit, I have some really good days. I have some really bad days as well. And often there's certain things in my life that I know will improve my mental health. There's some things that won't improve my mental health. And actually, this, I'm going to be completely honest, has been as a result of doing the channel and the opportunities that I've got as a result of it. It's made me learn how to deal with the good side of myself and the bad side of myself, because ultimately when we do these videos, mate, we come online with so much energy, we're so passionate about Watford, and I'm going to admit it's a bit of an escape for me. I don't know about you. When we come on here talking about Watford, it's brilliant, but when you go off camera and you have that adrenaline rush, you then think to yourself, right, okay, then there's life just off the camera as well. And I think it's it's similar. You can relate it to football in that respect, because a lot of footballers, as we spoke openly to Troy about it, he has his off days, he has his good days, and I'm sure a lot of footballers do. So if we can encourage people to speak out about it, particularly men our age, I don't know the exact statistic, mate, but of course with suicides with men, it's one of the highest killers of young people, so, and young men in particular. So I think the beauty about this series is that if we can help people speak up about it, and I think it's really, really important. But just going back onto my mental health, I have some good days, I have some bad days. I think it's great that you speak so openly about it, mate. I've learned stuff from you, reading about it, not only for yourself, but for myself as well, how I deal with it, how I should look after myself a bit more. I think the big thing is over the last years, as a result of the pandemic, is just self-care. I don't think I really looked after myself that much before. I was really working hard. And yes, you do have to have work ethic, but also you need to look after yourself. And I think that's the biggest thing I've learned over the past year or so, is making sure you look after your head, because that is the most important thing. Sometimes things can feel a little bit bigger, and a lot bigger than they actually are. And you speak to someone about it, then you feel then you just feel like you could be yourself again. But when that's kind of niggling in the back of your mind, it's very difficult to, it's very difficult to shake that off. So in terms of my mental health, it has some good days, it has some bad days, but there's certain things that I do to help that, and that's probably how that's it.
100%. And I'd say, advice that I'd give in terms of, I think you hit the nail on the head there with self-care is, for me, football was always so important for me. I don't know why, like ever since a young age when things happened with me in my life, which is why I've had post-traumatic stress disorder. Football always for me was such an escape. I have no idea why, but it's just something about it. And particularly over the pandemic, when that's taken away from you, you're sat there like, what now? And my mental health did deteriorate for a bit. Not necessarily just because no football's there. I mean, we were living in a pandemic, but you need to realize that there are certain things that you need to look to discover yourself in certain ways and to look after yourself. And for me, doing this channel was a massive help. I'm going to hopefully uni next year to study English. I love literature. So it's those sorts of things that you need to do to really help discover yourself. But Jacob, as someone who, you're halfway through uni, aren't you now? And if we're looking at the age range of people who watch our channel, a lot of them are teenage years who'll be, doing their GCSEs, A levels. As someone who can say they've been there, done that, what would you say your biggest advice is for that?
That's a really, really good question, because I'm going to admit sometimes I found it really difficult. I think I'd be lying if I said that I didn't find it difficult at times. But I think particularly the jump from GCSE to A levels was a big, big shock for me.
Definitely.
The workload, the pressure. I think GCSEs at the time feel really big, and then when you do A levels, you appreciate the workload, and it triples almost. So for me, the biggest thing I can say about doing exams, I'm open enough to say I came out with BBC at A level, which I was quite happy with. It's decent grades. It does the job. It got me into university. But I think the biggest thing for me was a balance. It's often said in exam season that you need to have a balance to do stuff away from revision. I just think throughout the year you need to have a balance with stuff outside, whether it's Watford, whether you're watching your local football team, whether you're exercising, whether you're just doing something to take your mind completely off exams. I think it's so important, because I felt a few times during the exam season where me and my dad would just go to the driving range and play a bit of golf, or go for a run. Just little things like that where you just can almost forget about the exam season. And the biggest thing for me, mate, is doing exercise. And I know that's a lot of people say that, but just an hour of football with your mates up the road in the park, honestly, I think that's the best thing. Exercise, absolutely the best thing for me personally.
100%.
And sleep as well, a massive thing. I have to get at least 8 hours, otherwise I'm in a stroppy mood. Like I'm not in a good mood first thing in the morning. So I would say exercise, sleep, and probably the last thing in exams is eating well as well.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, have a McDonald's or have a like a reward for your work. But I think just looking after yourself is just goes a massive way. So exercise, sleep, and a balanced diet. And looking after yourself is the best thing to do, mate, in that situation.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, what I'd say on that as well is, for me, I've always got 4 things that I've always, I'm very open about it. I had a suicide attempt and I survived it. I'm still here. And since then, I've kind of led myself, because I pretty much had a fresh start after that. And I, 4 sort of things that I live by is, as you say, eating well. I try and eat 5 bits of fruit or vegetable a day. Exercise, so important. I love just every single day. I mean, every other day I go to the gym at least. I love a good sprint on the treadmill, playing football with my mates, that sort of thing. What was a third thing? Because for me, sleep is not that great for me because of the post-traumatic stress disorder. I just don't sleep too well because of flashbacks and everything like that. I'm trying to think what the third one was. I think it was hydration. Hydration is so important. I don't think people appreciate how much your body needs water to look after itself and to function properly. Because I mean, as you say, Jacob, you don't get your full 8 hours sleep, you're a bit stroppy, but
honestly, mate, it makes a massive difference. Massive difference.
But I feel like the same impact with water is hydrating yourself is so important. And the last thing I'd say is you need to live by your certain comforts. And I know it might sound hypocritical me saying that, eat fruit, but at the same time indulge in things that you enjoy, such as chocolate, your Big Mac, whatever it is. And on top of that, I'd say as well, if you've got a hobby, pursue it, because it's nothing better than having certain achievements in there, such as I always, I used to be so intrigued by sports media, sports journalism. And, that's how I eventually joined up with the channel. And now seeing the channel grow, the interviews that we've had with certain people, people coming up to me at games saying hello, I get such a sense of satisfaction from that, just knowing that you've achieved something. And I think it's important to achieve away from academia as well. You need to, achieve something within yourself as well. So I think that's certainly really important. But we mentioned it as well, Jacob. Why do you think men's mental health isn't spoken enough about it, and why do we need to change it?
I can't speak for anyone else, but just personally, as someone who is, in that category of a young man, I'm 20 years of age. I've been at university. I've had some ups and downs. I think the reason before is I used to really worry about how people perceived me speaking about it. And like I did speak to a professional about my troubles and honestly issues sometimes, because as we said before, Sam, that they do feel bigger in your head at the time. And I think the reason potentially it isn't spoken about enough is because it's kind of maybe a little bit of anxiety being vulnerable. I think that's probably a big thing. Opening up about your emotions is difficult. I think, when people say you've got to speak up, absolutely, completely, I'm 100% support that. But it's not as easy as just doing that. You have to almost take baby steps to get to that point. I don't think it's just as simple as saying go and speak to someone. You need to. Or some people find it more difficult than others. Thankfully, I think we're very similar in the respect that we did go and speak to someone quite quickly. And obviously, with your experiences and my experience, I did speak to someone about how I felt, because ultimately, you know, if it was an injury in my leg, I'd be down the physio the next day. But because it's your mental health, it isn't treated the same way. I think the biggest thing was probably what people thought about me, and that's quite sad. I think there's a lot of people who probably would feel the same, not feeling comfortable to speak to someone maybe as well. I was very fortunate. I did find someone who I felt comfortable enough to speak to, and I don't know about you, mate, but once I found that, I felt really, it was almost like a weight off my shoulders, really, because in my head, it felt a lot bigger. And I keep saying that, but honestly, it felt a lot bigger than it actually was. And as soon as you speak to someone and they almost give you a bit of reassurance that it's normal to feel that way, then you feel a lot better. So I think it was more just not wanting to be vulnerable. Once you've got over that kind of step, then it's a lot easier, but it's very difficult. It takes time. I don't think people shouldn't put pressure on other people to just go and speak up. Absolutely, that's the way to go forward, but it's not just easy as that. I think you'd probably agree.
Yeah, no, 100%. And what I'd say, particularly to our younger viewers, is that in the moment things do seem so difficult. I look at GCSEs and A levels, which in the moment seem like the biggest thing. But you get to like you're 20, I'm 18, and you realise it's just part of a piece in the jigsaw. And it's almost like, if I'm drawing comparisons to Watford here, it's almost like, say for example, some people were gutted when Richarlison left, for example. But at the end of the day, it's just a small bit of the Pozzo puzzle, which ultimately helps the club sustain itself and become better, which ultimately we did. We got to an FA Cup final the next year. So in a similar way, though you will have to make sacrifices and suffer in some moments, it's for the greater good, such as when we sold Richarlison. That's an awful comparison, but I just
it's like it's just a part of your story. It's a part of your life's ultimately a story, and it's only a little part of that. It doesn't define you. I think that's the key word. It does not define you. That one little part of your life feels so big at the time, but actually in the grand scheme of things, when you look back on it 40 years later, 50 years later, you think, wow, that was a little thing. I don't want to obviously speak on behalf of anyone, but I think a lot of people, do really struggle with that, because it does feel a lot bigger than it actually is, mate. And I've certainly felt that way 100% before. How do I get, tomorrow, how am I going to get through that? But you do get through it. Somehow you get through it. So I think that's
exactly.
Exactly.
And I think the one person to look at as well in there is Troy Deeney, who's gone through some real low moments, that he's quite open about at times, and look where he is now. And just before we wrap up, Jacob, at the time of recording this, we're a week away or so from the Premier League season starting. What will it mean to you and specifically your mental health to be back in Vicarage Road and going to games every week? Because I know we were playing last season every other day in the Championship, but it's different when you're back at games, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not the same. I think you put a tweet out, didn't you, today, mate, about like the buzz of the pre-match video, the music, the montage, just like the smell of pies and the little things like that you take for granted. Even just like for me, the part of the match day experiences going with my dad. And not having that for a year or so was really difficult, because obviously you still watch it on Hive Live, and the club did a brilliant job about making the fans feel immersed during last season. I think we take that for granted a little bit. I did anyway. Not a lot of clubs have the same production value that we had last season, and that did make the match day experience for me better. But it's not comparable to being back in Vicarage Road and just the walk up to Vicarage Road with my dad, going to away games and meeting people. And even, since doing the challenge you mentioned, mate, getting recognised by people and meeting new people and just socialising, and that element of a match day, obviously we go to watch the football, we go to support Watford, but the socialising with other fans, meeting new people and seeing old faces, that's what I miss about games. And I think for my mental health, it'd be brilliant. Just that I don't know whether you're the same, mate, but on a match day, that is your day.
Yeah.
When you look
forward to it all week as well.
Your day revolves around it. When we had it on Hive Live and stuff, and when we were watching it, on the TV, I could just rock up at 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock, and when the coverage starts, just chuck it on. But when you're going to the ground, you have to get there early. You have a drink, you have something to eat. It's a whole day. You make a whole day of it. But when you're watching it at home, it's just not the same, really. So, mate, for me, it'll be massive. Really to get back into the grounds. And I think, I can imagine a lot of people are buzzing to be back. But for my mental health, and it'll be really, really huge for it.
Yeah, completely agree. And Jacob, before we end the video, just any last messages to our viewers?
I think again, just to reiterate that point, if you feel comfortable enough, please speak to someone. You know, my DM's always open. Sam's DM's are open. We're not professionals, but if you do just want to have a conversation with us, then please do message us. If not, we'll leave the details to the contacts below to get in touch with professionals. Because there's a lot of services out there which are free. You can call up at any time, 24/7 services that will give you support and give you guidance and be there for you for a chat. So that's another big thing to say. And if you do go to Watford games, and I know obviously a lot of our audience, Sam, but they are Watford fans, and if you see us at games, I know Sam's the same. We'd love to have a chat with you and come up and say hello. We'd love to do that. And just it doesn't have to just be about Watford. You speak about your life, how you getting on. I think that's the main thing to say, mate. But I think it's a really good thing to do, and a pleasure to be on the first episode.
Thank you for joining me, Jacob. Looking forward to. I mean, at the time of recording, our next video will be, I think, our Aston Villa preview, where the roles will be reversed again, and yeah, it'll be good to.
You're taking my spot now. You're taking my spot.
Thank you so much, everyone, for watching today. First episode of quite a few we've got coming up. Some really good guests. Make sure to like, subscribe, turn notifications on. Our socials will be in the description below, along with contacts as well, if you do feel the need to talk to anyone. And we'll see you soon for another episode of Speaking Up. Thanks, everyone.